Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Edge Sports Network. We got another interview for you guys today. We got Simi Fehoko, Stanford wide receiver. Simi, thanks so much for joining us here on the site today. Great to have you on.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Looking forward to this one. I'll start off here. You just finished up with your first full season of play over at Stanford. How'd you feel, out on the field this year? I know you had, kind of had a redshirt type season your first year. Come out this year, you had a great year. So how was everything? How was the team chemistry? And how's it feel playing, Stanford football?
Right. For me, I just appreciated the opportunity to play. I have given
Mm-hmm.
that redshirt freshman season. Learning. Taking my time back from my mission. It was good to learn from JJ Arcega-Whiteside. Learn from Trent Irwin, all these guys that are in the NFL now and are Stanford greats.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to finally have the opportunity to get out there and play a full season with a bunch of these guys, and it was a great opportunity for me. So
Mm-hmm.
given the fact that our team didn't necessarily meet up to our expectations and we kind of fell short there,
Mm-hmm.
we our chemistry grew. We have a really young squad, and I think this year we're going to be a lot more experienced in a lot of aspects. In all offense, all of defense, I feel like we're going to be a lot more experienced than we were last year. And I think we are definitely playing with the chip on our shoulder, and we are going to try to live up to our expectations this year.
That's excellent. I know you said, that redshirt year, you kind of use it as a season to learn a little bit, understand the offense, kind of get that system under your belt and whatnot. How was that experience for you? I've talked to a lot of guys who have taken this redshirt route, just to kind of sit back and get acclimated. Did you feel pretty comfortable coming into this past season after that year, or what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So we have Coach BK. He did a great job with me trying to get me up to pace and everything. Especially coming back from my mission. I was
Mm-hmm.
50 pounds heavier than when I left.
Mm-hmm.
So my body, I had to get acclimated with that. Running with a lot more weight, playing like that, and but in terms of like the playbook and things like that, Coach BK did a great job. So I felt pretty comfortable going in to
Mm-hmm.
this season. Having a good spring ball and then going in there, but I felt pretty comfortable, especially with the chemistry I had with KJ and Davis. So
Mm-hmm. I would
yeah.
I would say you looked comfortable too. 24 catches, 566 yards, 6 touchdowns. I know you averaged 23.58 yards per catch, which was the second, national average for yards per catch there. I have to ask you, you're one for the big plays. There's no doubt about that. How do you kind of read the defense to be able to make those big plays? And you've done it more than once. You do it consistently, I'd say. So how are you able to kind of read the defense, get into the secondary, and make sure that, you're making the big play, especially when it's needed?
Yeah. A lot of this stuff, it really has to do with, watching film
Mm-hmm.
the past week, scouting on what they're going to be doing. If they're in this certain coverage, then chances are they have no safety help or something like that. And our coaches, Coach Shaw does a great job in, calling the plays. Coach Pritch too, calls great plays for like the down and distance. So if
Mm-hmm.
he figures, they're going to be in cover one on third down and long or something like that, he'll call, a shot play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really helped me knowing that, beforehand, I think they're going to be in man coverage, that they're not going to have a safety help. So it's going to be a lot easier for me to, make one of those plays. And credit to Davis and KJ, they throw great balls. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's not too hard on my end.
For sure. You've been making those plays, and they've been in big situations too. So you certainly got that clutch gene a little bit right there. And your QBs are making the right pass. You're making the right play. So when that comes together, you guys see a lot of success right there. I know you had 4 games where you went over 90 yards this past season. Tough to stay consistent in college football, especially in a division like the Pac-12. You managed to do it in your first year here. What's kind of the keys to consistency? I know you mentioned watching film has been big, but is there anything else that you kind of got to focus on in order to just stay the course throughout the year?
Yeah. So I think you sort of mentioned it earlier. It's that team chemistry. It's the chemistry that, I have with the quarterback that all the
Mm-hmm.
receivers have together. Those things, the chemistry of staying is basically the main key of staying consistent. I think
Mm-hmm.
getting extra reps with Davis or I guess Davis after practice, and and things like that. Working extra with Mike, Bryson, Osiris, Connor. These guys are some of the guys that are gonna, help you, perfect your craft really.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I think those are the main things. Is the chemistry.
Mm-hmm. For sure. You guys have had that chemistry. And for you coming into the program, I mean, how long does it kind of take to establish that chemistry? And when do you establish it? Is it something that you guys build pretty easily in the off season, or do you kind of have to get a few regular season games under the belt in order to get that chemistry there?
Right. I feel that the chemistry sort of comes at the fall camp, base of the season. That gives you already a little base, but I feel like
Mm-hmm.
after a couple games, you really see how people are playing. You see how they play under pressure. Things like that is where you sort of feel like, okay, this is the chemistry that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think for me personally, with my redshirt freshman year, I was always on the scout team, and I was running with Davis the whole time because
Mm-hmm.
Davis was, second string. So I think our chemistry started there, and I
Mm-hmm.
think it's also carried over throughout the season as he became starter and things like that.
Mm-hmm. It's key to build that chemistry right there. You guys need to have that, especially in football. I mean, every sport is important, but I think football it might be just a little bit more important with the physicality of the game. You guys kind of got to be in sync there, especially in your conference, Pac-12. Can you talk a little bit about how Pac-12 football has been? I mean, how has that helped you kind of improve as a player and just have to raise your, game to that next level?
Right. Pac-12, it's unpredictable. You never
Yeah.
know what you're going to get, and you have great talent everywhere. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you could get something different one week and a complete opposite the another week. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be completely unpredictable. So you always got to be ready to stay on top of your game.
For
Um,
sure.
so I mean, obviously the talent's all there. So I mean, you got to be ready for everything.
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, some of the, best football in the country. Some of the best football in the country right there, and always fun to watch. You never know what's gonna happen. And it just, dog fights every single Saturday. So, I always like to ask this too. I mean, what had you choose Stanford? What made you want to continue your career, out in California? I know you're from Utah. Did you always plan to kind of go out of state, or was it just something that you kind of discovered, back in high school?
To be honest, back in high school, I didn't actually think I was gonna even like play football at the next level. I was gonna say,
Wow.
yo, I'm just gonna stay in state, things like that. And
Mm-hmm.
then things started blowing up, and I started getting my options open, and then I looked at Stanford, and it's kind of a no-brainer. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
the top prestigious school of excellence. It has the school, and then it has also the athletics, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't turn it down, and um, so that's how I sort of ended up here. Sort of knew that this was the place.
I'd say you made a pretty good choice right there. I know back in high school too, you had over 3,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, in the career there. So that shocked me a little bit that you said you didn't even know you'd be playing football in college. I mean, you had a pretty good high school career to say the least. And then I know your family too. I mean, you come from a football family. I'm gonna try and get all these here. You had cousins that played football at Texas Tech, Washington State, San Diego State. I know you had a cousin that played for the Chargers. Your dad played football at Dixie State. Am I missing anything right there? I don't want to miss anything.
No, I think. Well, I mean, other than the cousin that played at LSU, that's now he got drafted to the Chargers as well. But
There we go.
I mean,
All
that's
right,
that's
yeah,
about it.
yeah. You got a. If there is anything that is the definition of a football family, it's your family right there. So I have to ask you this too. Growing up, I mean, how was that? I would imagine every time you guys, get together for a family reunion or something, there's probably a football coming out. So how was everything growing up, and just how competitive was it, being in a family like that?
Yeah, you sort of hit on the head. It's a constant competition. Everyone
Hmm.
wants to be great. Everyone wants to, go play college ball. Everyone, trying to be like our uncle. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. It was
Hmm.
always like, oh yeah, where are you gonna play? Where are you gonna play? Where are you gonna play? Where do you want to play? So I mean, growing up, it was just fun. Having family that really drove you and pushed you to be great.
For sure. I mean, you guys. I don't know if there's any other families out there that have had that many football players. You guys, someone's got to do research into this. You guys might take the cake for it. So someone has to look up those stats. I don't know if there's another. I
And
mean,
my brother just went to Utah State. So I mean, shoot, we're
man,
all
I
so in there.
I can't even keep track. Like no one's gonna be able to keep track. You guys are. I feel like there's gonna be a Fehoko on every team in like 10 years or something. There's just gonna be every team, college, professional, you name it. So
Shoot,
that
might be.
there might be. No one's gonna be able to keep up. So I mean, keep us up. You got to make a list or something. Like you're gonna have to have like a family plaque with all the or even like a hall of fame just for your family. Just have everyone who's played.
Really.
You got to set something up, but I'm sure that was great growing up, and still great now. I'm sure it's still very competitive. And looking back at it, doesn't have to be at this, or it doesn't have to be this past season at Stanford, but just over your career in general, can be high school, can be before high school, or in college. If you had a favorite football moment, what would that be?
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough.
You've probably had a lot of football moments, I can say, so I know it's probably a
Yeah,
tough
no.
question.
I think for me, just a football moment. I think the whole. I actually had the opportunity to travel. I didn't actually even play, but I had the opportunity to travel to Oregon my
Hmm.
freshman year when they had where Stanford had that. We were down and we had that crazy comeback
Hmm.
overtime. Colby grabbed the ball. It was just that was the most insane football moment I've ever been a part of, and
Uh-huh.
like the locker room after was absolutely nuts. It was a party to just even be there,
Oh yeah.
and it was so much fun. I thought that was the coolest moment of my life.
That must have been unbelievable. And in a game like that, I mean, what's the atmosphere like in the stadium? Like on the field, you're on the field down there, you got thousands of people
Yeah.
around you. How was that just kind of being immersed in that, atmosphere?
Oh my gosh, that was the craziest thing. You can't even talk to the guys on your own sideline. Like you're standing right next to him. I was standing next to Connor Weddington. He couldn't
Hmm.
even hear what I was saying. Like we had to get right next to each other if we wanted to talk to somebody. I could only imagine what it would be like to call plays down on the field and things like that.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just it was crazy. It was a crazy atmosphere.
Oh man, see, I don't know how you guys do that. I would be so nervous. I mean, like if I couldn't even talk to the guy next to me, it was that loud. I don't know what I'd do. I don't know what I'd probably sit in the locker room all day. So I think that's what I would do right there. But is that something you kind of get used to? Or like, are you used to that by now, playing in front of these massive crowds?
Yeah, I think it's still a little weird for me because
Hmm.
growing up in high school, I mean, the max we didn't have too many come in to watch our games. So I mean, going straight to and then especially at Stanford home games, we don't have that many fans.
Hmm.
Um, so then when you go to like fans like stands like USC or Oregon or Washington, things like this, these are people that have packed stadiums. You can't
Hmm.
even hear talk, and it's like, wow, it's insane.
Hmm.
Before leading up to practice or leading up to the game, the whole week we play like stadium noise during like our practices, like what we're calling like routes and things like that. We have stadium surround sound
Oh wow.
in our practice just so that we get used to being loud and not hearing and things like that.
Wow, I didn't
So
know
I
that.
think
Uh,
it's cool. Yeah, it's I think it's cool. I think it's super
hmm.
cool, and it's I mean it is what it is, but eventually I guess you kind of get used to it.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, I would imagine in practices you kind of need. That's something you kind of need to get used to. I feel like because
Hmm.
it's just nuts, especially in the Pac-12. I mean, the crowds that they bring in are ridiculous, and I'm sure it's one of those things that, you as you said, you're pretty used to it by now. But I'm sure every once in a while, you look around, it gets a little bit surreal for sure, and
Hmm.
it's definitely just a fun experience to be out on that field. Um, Going kind of off that point, game one for you, your first ever college football game. Going out on the field for that one, what were the emotions like? How'd you feel headed into that game to kind of finally realize that you've achieved your goal of Division One college football?
Right. I didn't. I haven't really had butterflies since like my sophomore year in high school. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that first game, especially coming back after my 2 year mission, I had 2 years off. You know, of focusing on all that, and then coming back to finally back to what I love, and
Mm-hmm.
it's sort of just like, whoa, like I'm really here, I really made it, like,
Mm-hmm.
and it was sort of surreal. It was super cool just to be there and have the opportunity to just even be attending this great school, things like that. It sort of just like hit me. I'm like, wow, I'm really playing, I'm living my dream.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was really cool. That first time stepping on the field, hearing the crowd, running out the tunnel, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
So I'm sure you're gonna remember that moment for the rest of your life. Safe to say that?
100%. Yeah.
There we go. I mean, man, that's gotta be surreal going out there for the first time. Just kind of see the field open up and whatnot. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure that was an awesome moment. One I know you'll remember. And I know, just Stanford in general, football aside, what have you really liked about the school? How's your time been in California? Again, I went out to the West Coast, I think once or twice maybe when I was really young. I don't remember anything about it, but what's kind of the best parts about Stanford, California? What are you really liking about it?
All right. Yeah. I could go on for forever. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you.
um, but the best thing for me that I like here at Stanford is the fact that I'm surrounded by dudes of excellence, and no matter
Hmm.
what, like even in regular students, you could be sitting in class, and you could have the next Steve Jobs or someone sitting right next to you. You're like,
Hmm.
whoa, what's happening, bro? Like, and then you also have dudes like that on the team. Like we just finished beating, like Washington, and we're in the locker room. They're talking about politics. It's
Oh
just
man.
it's funny, man. It's cool. It's just to be surrounded by guys like that. It's just people of excellence that want to succeed just as much as
Hmm.
you do. And then the best parts about California is especially for me living in Utah, I live away from the beach, the coast,
Hmm.
and all that. So the fact that I can drive 30 minutes and go to a beach and just hang out with all my guys, chill,
Hmm.
not have a lot of people either.
Hmm.
It's cool. It's cool to me. I've always lived in Utah, so going to California was a vacation, really. So I mean, it's like,
Hmm.
wow, now I'm here. I'm living my best life. I'm living the dream,
There you
playing
go.
college football, and I got and I got a beach. Can't complain. Can't complain.
I mean, you're basically living in a vacation right now. I mean, that's perfect. Um,
Exactly.
and I know, yeah, I gotta get out to those California beaches. We got them out here. We're out in Massachusetts. We got plenty out here, but the water is
Right.
like 25 degrees. Like, yeah, you put your feet in and you get out. It's like, it's terrible. I mean, it's nice. Everyone likes to go to the beach, sit down, lay down in the sun, hear the water, hear the waves. The atmosphere is nice. But I know in California the water's pretty warm, right?
Yeah, it's pretty warm.
Yeah.
I mean, northern Cal is a little colder than
Hmm.
SoCal, but I mean, it's still not bad. We were just in the ocean the other day, me and all the guys. So
Oh yeah, I mean that's the
it
dream
wasn't
right
bad.
there. Yeah, if you guys can go in, that's better than Massachusetts
Exactly.
immediately right there.
Exactly.
And then we got this thing out here. It's like the middle of February, and we got these things called polar plunges. It's for a good cause. It's for charity.
Yeah.
People will run into the water when it's like negative whatever. They'll go in.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, I'm just saying. Listen, I'll donate the money. I'm not going in the water. I'm not going in the water, but I will gladly donate. But I'm not going in. So
I
yeah,
like that. I like
I know. Yeah, if you're ever in Massachusetts, go to the beach. Don't go in the water. That's all I'm
that.
saying.
Don't go in the water.
Don't go in the
Yeah,
water.
I'm noted.
Stick
Noted.
stick to the California beaches. You'll be fine out there. Um, I mean, I always like to kind of wrap up the interview with a few fun questions, and then one question that you might have to think about a little bit. You might have thought about it before. My first question here, I always like to highlight any kind of community work guys have done or anything like that. I know you've mentioned it a little bit throughout the interview here. Took that mission trip before your career at Stanford. I know it was in South Korea. I mean, how was that for you? What'd you kind of learn from that? And I mean, how was the experience overall as a whole?
My mission, that was insane.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a crazy experience in general, going to a place that I don't even speak the language.
Mm-hmm.
Having to learn the culture, um, you know, trying to figure out my way around. It was insane, but I thought it was, the most well needed experience in my life. I
Mm-hmm.
really learned a lot. I really grew up a ton,
Mm-hmm.
and matured, and I feel like it has helped me, you know, here at Stanford. I
Mm-hmm.
came in as a 20-year-old freshman. It's a
Mm-hmm.
little, some might see that as a bad, a downside, but I feel like that for me, that really helped me, really settle down and pick up the playbook faster. Help. It gave me a lot more discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was actually really fun. Eating some crazy food out there in Korea, but
Mm-hmm.
it was also really really needed.
For sure, for sure. I know those mission trips, you're always kind of out there, help others, learn about, different cultures and whatnot. I've interviewed a few guys that have also taken mission trips. One thing they kind of bring up too is the stuff that they take away from it and that they learn from the people. I mean, you go out there to help, but it seems like sometimes the people that you help kind of help you more. What did you kind of take? Yeah, I mean, what did you kind of take away from the people that you met out there, the culture that you kind of immersed yourself in, and I mean, what are just kind of some of the life lessons you learned, I guess?
I was there's a ton, I could go on for hours, but I think the
Mm-hmm.
main thing that I learned from, especially just the Korean people in general as a whole
Mm-hmm.
was, selflessness. Everybody's, putting they have stuff where, you're sitting on the subway and you see an old lady walk on, everybody stands up and gives the old lady her seat, like no matter who you
Wow.
are. Um, I think it's just like that idea of culture and, um, just things like that where you respect your elders and things like that
Mm-hmm.
where it's huge there. I really took that away and I thought that, I really needed that in my life, especially,
Mm-hmm.
going from in high school thinking that I was a man, even
Mm-hmm.
though, getting to college, you're nobody. He does stars don't matter, stars don't anything. So I mean, I really needed that sense of, selflessness and learning about um how to go about that. I think that's the biggest thing I took away from that.
Always great to kind of, step back a little bit, look at
Hmm.
life in a different perspective. I guess I think that's what those mission trips really can kind of do from the guys I've talked with, at least. That's what it sounds like they do. Just kind of to give you a new, fresh perspective and just to kind of take that time before college. You're going through this transition period in your life. So to kind of take that time to just get ready for it mentally, I think. I mean, did it help you get ready for college mentally, did you feel like?
Yeah, 100%. And
Mm-hmm.
that sort of went along with, with the maturity and things like that it helped with.
Yeah, for sure. I know, in that transition period, that can definitely be beneficial. So, great to hear that, that helped you personally. Great to hear that you're doing stuff for, people around the world. That's definitely a fantastic thing. So I always like to kind of highlight that, in the interview for sure. And I know the fun question for you here, if you could catch a touchdown from any quarterback, past or present, they can be dead or alive, who would the quarterback be and why?
Ooh, that's a great question. You know, ooh, that's great. Shoot. For me right now, just because, I'm a big Madden player, my
Mm-hmm.
biggest Madden player right now that I'd be using is Lamar Jackson. So I think,
There you
I
go.
mean, it's a pretty fair answer.
Hmm.
I'd like to catch one from Lamar Jackson. Hopefully, maybe I could catch one in real life. Who knows?
I
I
know.
mean, I'm crossing my fingers.
I know. Hey, I mean, if you ever do, we're gonna make sure we push this part of the interview. We'll have this. We'll tweet it out everywhere. You predicted it right here, right now on the interview. So maybe maybe you got the crystal ball predicting some things for the future, but setting yourself up nicely for it here. So you're on the right path for it. So
Right.
let's hope it happens right now. I'm feeling good about it. I'm feeling good
Cross
about
my
it.
fingers.
I got a good feeling. So we'll see what happens there. Lamar Jackson, good choice though. You know, unbelievable talent. That goes without saying. Definitely one of the. I don't even want to say up and comers anymore. I think he's like reached his prime already.
Yeah, he's the man.
Yeah, he is amazing. And being out in New England here, Patriots fan, I hate him because he's so good. I mean, he torched us
Right.
last year, so I'm sure he's gonna keep torching us for like 10 to 15 years down the road. So I'm really looking forward to that. But we'll see yeah, if you start torching us too, man, I'll tell you what.
Hey, man.
You gotta. Hey, listen. If you're catching touchdowns from Lamar, I want you to go for 30 in the regular season. Just make sure none of them are against the Patriots. All right.
Against the Patriots.
There you go. There you go. That's all I'm asking for. You know what? I'll give you a couple. Catch a couple against the Pats. Final score like 21-14 New England, all right? That sound good?
Hey, I don't know about that, but I mean, we'll see.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. I don't, I'm sure you're not really thinking of that in the moment. If you'd ever be putting on a
Right.
Ravens jersey, you wouldn't be thinking about that bet we just made right here. So, um,
Yeah.
wherever you end up, I'll be happy if you catch a touchdown against New England. We'll be okay with it, I promise. But
Sounds good.
to close up here, I know it's been a great interview right here. It's been great having you on. I want to ask you if you could kind of describe a word or what football has meant to you in a word or a phrase, a few words, sentence. Um, how would you kind of describe what this game's meant to you? I know it's been with you throughout your entire life. It's been with you, family. community,
Mhm.
you name it. What has football meant to you?
Um, I would say in one word, probably, you know, everything. I want to say
Mm-hmm.
that in more in depth. I want to sort of explain that. And everything I sort of mean like the things that football has taught me has made me, love my family more. Love my brothers, my family, my wife. It's made me a better person. In
Mm-hmm.
all those aspects, it's taught me discipline. Things that I wouldn't necessarily have learned had it not been from football and training and things like that. So in terms of in everything, I mean like it's really helped me become who I am today.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best way to put it.
I think that's a great way to explain it. And, you got plenty of time left in your career here, so I'm sure it's going to bring you so much more. And really looking forward to see what you do with Stanford and beyond. I want to say congrats on a great season at Stanford. Started off the career really, really nicely after that redshirt season. And we're wishing you nothing but the best for the rest of your time at Stanford and beyond. Hope to see you out there on the field someday with Lamar for sure. But yeah, wishing you nothing but the best, man. And Simi, I mean, thanks so much for joining us here on the site today. Great speaking with you a little bit about your, career on the field and off. And we'd always be glad to have you back on the site anytime.
Appreciate you, man. I hope you have the best day. Thank you for your time too.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Simi Fehoko, Stanford wide receiver. We'll put his information down below, his Twitter, so you guys can go follow him, his career at Stanford and beyond. And then we'll also put a link to Stanford's football website, so you guys can follow for team news, team updates, anything you guys need Stanford football related. It'll be down below. But guys, thanks so much for joining us here on the site. Great having you guys as always, and we will see you guys next time for another interview in our summer series here on Edge Sports Network.